day, my wonderful and amiable listeners. I bring to you another news. The news headline: Dirty game. Lawmakers betray Buhari as they move to block amendment of Electoral Act despite agreement. The news in full. Members of the Nigerian National Assembly (NASS) may be on the verge of betraying the President Muhammadu Buhari, as according to the report, they are moving to renege on the earlier agreement of the Electoral Act in 2022. The Electoral Act has been a major subject of controversy in Nigeria politics over the past few weeks, from President Muhammadu Buhari delaying signing it into the law after a long back and forth with the NAS, to lawmakers reportedly agreeing to remove a section of the act as requested by President Muhammadu Buhari. According to the reports, the last controversy over the Electoral Act now is whether or not NAS will follow through with the removal of the section President Muhammadu Buhari wants to remove. According to the report from credible sources within the Nigerian media space, there are strong indications that the leadership of the House of Representatives have initiated back channels move to block the deletion of Section 84(12) of the Electoral Act in 2022. This is despite the commitment made to President Muhammadu Buhari by the federal lawmakers in an executive legislative deal in order to avoid a presidential veto of the Electoral Act. Before President Muhammadu Buhari signed the bill into law on February 25, 2022, he was said to have reached an agreement with both the Senate and the House of Representatives for the lawmakers to expel the controversial Section 84(12) in the Act, which deprived federal appointees from constitutional right to vote and be voted for ahead of the primary election in the political parties. The section states that no political appointee or at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or progress of any political party for the nomination of candidates for any election. It was gathered that, after Buhari signed the new law, the Speaker of the House, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, is bowing to pressure from some presidential aspirants to block it. It was, however, learnt that the Senate is considering the President's request to delete the unconstitutional clause. A member of the House of Representatives who opposed to the move by his colleague to block it disclosed that the agreement reached between Buhari and the House of Representatives was a standard agreement that was meant to be kept. When an agreement is reached, it should be kept. Before the President signed the Electoral Act, they agreed to delete that clause, but politics has now entered it. The House of Leadership is bound to pressure the presidential aspirants. We heard that Gbajabiamila wants to be the governor of Lagos State, so they don't want to delete the controversial section from the Act. So while the Senate is considering deleting it, the House may block it, he explained. While assenting to the Electoral Act 2010 Amendment Bill at the Presidential Villa in Abuja, the President had highlighted sections of the new law that would revolutionize the electoral system in the country, but expressed reservation about Section 84(12). In the covering letter to the National Assembly, where he conveyed his reservation about the new law and also asked the lawmakers to delete the unconstitutional section, Buhari drew their attention to the provision of Section 84(12), which according to him constituted a defect that conflicts with extant constitutional provisions. The President wrote, "I write concerning the recent assent to the Electoral Act Amendment 2022 and to draw your kind attention to some salient issues contained in the Act and to seek your immediate legislative action thereon. I have carefully studied the content of the recently assented Electoral Act Amendment 2022. I must admit that there are positive provisions that could revolutionize election process in Nigeria, particularly through the introduction of new technological technological innovations that will in turn guarantee the constitutional rights of the citizen to vote and to do so effectively. The recently assented Electoral Act has improved and engendered clarity, effectiveness and transparency of the election process, as well as reduced the barest minimum incidence of the acrimony arising from dissatisfied candidates and political parties. I therefore commend the legislative wisdom of the National Assembly, which is in line with our policy to bequeath Nigerians and posterity a landmark legal framework that paves the way for credible electoral process that we would all be proud of. Buhari added that, I, however, will want to kindly draw your attention to the provision of Section 84(12) of the Act, which I believe constitutes a fundamental defect as it is in direct conflict with extant constitutional provision. Section 84(12) of the Act constitutes the enfranchisement of serving political office holders from voting or being voted for an convention of congresses of any political party for the nomination of candidates for any election in cases where it owed earlier than 30 days to the election. This provision has introduced qualification and disqualification criteria that are on traverses the Constitution by way of importing blanket restriction and disqualification to serving political office holders, of which they are constitutionally accorded protection. The practical application of Section 84(12) of the Electoral Act Amendment 2022 is to subject serving political office holder to restriction referred to under Section 40 and 42 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. It is imperative to note that the only constitutional expectation placed on serving political office holders that qualify by extension a public officer within the context of the Constitution is resignation, withdrawal, or retirement at least 30 days before the date of the election, as provided in the Section 66(1)(f) of 1999 Constitution as amended, among others. Hence, it will be stretching matters beyond the constitutional limits to import extraneous restriction into the Constitution on account of the practical application of the Section 84(12) of the Act, where political parties, conventions, and congresses were to hold earlier than 30 days to the election. Buhari stated that, arising from the foregoing, I request the National Assembly to consider immediate amendment that will bring the Act in conformity with the Constitution by the way of deleting Section 84(12) accordingly. And it's reported that the lawmakers are set to betray President Muhammadu Buhari as they move to block the amendment of the electoral rights despite their agreement.